Start. Welcome to our panel on supporting artists in the fandom, presented by myself, Gay Demonic Disaster, and Firecracker Suite.
Artists bring so much to the world, not just in fandoms, but in all walks of life. They work incredibly hard, often for little reward, to share their skill with others. The majority of them also vastly undervalue their work when you consider how much time and effort they put into each piece, not to mention the expenses of media and equipment.
So I'm not speaking as an artist. I don't really count myself as one much. I'm a keen amateur at best, but I'm speaking as someone who's been buying and commissioning art since I was a teenager back in the 90s. There's so many ways you can support your favourite artists, even on a small budget and even on no budget.
As for me, I am speaking as an artist. I work as a graphic designer, but I also do illustration commissions on and off and have over the years. I've had a lot of fulfilling experiences taking commissions, but I've also had some that didn't go as well as I'd have liked. I've been on both sides too, being a supported artist and supporting other artists. And that's why we're here today. We'd like to share with you a few of the ways that you can support artists, as well as how you can go about commissioning art.
So I bought my first original art piece when I was a kid from an older girl at school. She'd painted my favourite horse at school stables as part of her A-level coursework. So I asked her after grading if she might want to sell it. She said, sure, how much did I want to offer her? I, having been saving up my pocket money for a while, shyly asked 20 quid. She laughed and replied, 20? More like 5, and then sold it to me for a £5. I still have it hanging on my wall to this day, but I do wish now that I'd insisted on giving her the full 20, however. After that, I met professional artists at horse shows and began to save up to commission pieces as gifts for friends and family, as well as portraits of my own horses and other pets. Later still, I commissioned portraits of cars for myself and my family as were petrol heads. I've also commissioned artists to create raffle prizes for charity fundraisers, where the winner could win a pet portrait or small signed original pieces. And I've donated a new logo and website banner for a small pet rescue charity when they wanted to revamp their site, and donated hand-painted jewellery by the same artist as raffle prizes for them to fundraise with. So art can make so many people happy, and it's always lovely to have something unique to give. In more recent times, with art moving more into digital, I've commissioned artists to draw pieces as gifts for other people's fics as well. So for commissioning art, we're going to start with a brief bit on the general process of commissioning art, which is one of the most common and helpful ways to support an artist. Art commissions are purchased for all sorts of reasons, and in fandom, it's a way to bring your ideas and headcanons to life when you can't quite do it yourself, or don't want to in some cases. Anybody can commission artists, even other artists. Fanfic writers and fan artists can also combine their work to add visuals to a story. To start, you'll want to search for artists via websites or social media, for example, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I also like to look for artists who are in need of emergency funds and prioritise them first. When you find an artist you like, search for commission information or price lists, and if they're open to taking them. Some commission information will also touch on topics like what subject matter they're open to drawing, show samples of commissioned work, and other notes you'll need to take into account if you want to work with them. If the artist is open for commissions, or if you can't find any commission information, search for their contact information and tell them you enjoy their work and you'd like to commission them. This is a great time to check and see if they draw not safe for work art if you're not sure that they do. If an artist is closed for commissions, it's best not to bother them. Check back at a later time, because some artists find it rude to find a commission request in their inbox when they've made it obvious they're closed for work. If, however, an artist hasn't stated that they're not taking commissions, you can, of course, ask them. Check to see if they have a preferred way to contact by DM, email, website form, etc. Then reach out politely and ask. The worst they can do is say no, but I can assure you they'll be flattered that you wanted to ask them even so. If a chosen artist is open, you'll want to prepare references and a write-up of the piece you'd like created.
For just about every and any commission you plan to hire an artist for, you'll need a clear written description of what you'd like, along with reference photos, as high quality as possible, for each element of your artwork, like the pose, clothing, hairstyles, background elements, etc. For fictional characters, conceptual or official art, screenshots, and other media is extremely helpful, especially if the artist is unfamiliar with them. They can use the others for color matching and other details. And if there's something you'd like changed from a reference, for example, removing or altering a background, altering an outfit, or mirroring a pose you've provided, be sure to let them know. You also want a basic analytical description of the scene. You might say, Crowley is sitting on the sofa looking at his phone while Aziraphale sits nearby reading, but that isn't enough. Which sofa? Where? What time period? What exactly are they wearing? What's Crowley's hair look like? Is he a demon or is it a human AU where his eyes aren't necessarily snaky? What time of day is it?
So instead of that, you might say something like present day, Aziraphale's bookshop, nighttime. Crowley is dressed as for present day, but he has long hair, half tied up in a bun. He's human and has hazel eyes and is not wearing his shades. He doesn't have fangs, claws, or pointy ears, but he does have a snake tattoo on his head. He's lounging back in a very relaxed fashion and smiling. Aziraphale sits on the other end of the sofa, reading a book and smiling. One hand is resting on Crowley's knee. There is a white Persian cat curled up in a basket nearby. That's when your reference pictures will help out a lot as well. If your commission is an illustration for a fanfic, you're welcome to include a link to it for them to read, but please don't insist that they do, as they might not have the time, especially if the fic's long and they're very busy. So put all your instructions in writing so it's clear. Other details you want to include are deadlines. Do you need it for a special occasion or a specific date? You'll want to state clearly when that date is and check that the artist is okay with this first. Subject matter. Always ask if an artist is okay with the subject you have in mind. Consider the ship and the rating. Some may not be into certain fandoms, or maybe they were once but no longer wish to draw for that fandom for personal reasons. Others may only draw safe for work subjects and don't like not safe for work. They might be okay with drawing a safe for work prompt on your otherwise not safe for work fic, or they may not want to be associated with it at all. Respect the boundaries, and if they're not a good fit, thank them for taking the time to chat with you and seek another. Privacy and permissions. Does the artist need to keep this work private, or can they share work in progress and final pieces? Is the artist allowed to share your name as the person commissioning the art? You should let them know if it's okay to share progress sneak peeks publicly on their Patreon, etc. You might not want this if perhaps it's a gift for someone who may see it early, or it might be a spoiler you don't want revealed. Usage. We'll touch on this subject a bit more later on, but it's important to let the artist know your plans for the artwork if it's beyond simply personal enjoyment. Keep in mind that these details may affect the price of your commission, especially any restrictions in sharing the work or having a short deadline.
Once you and the artist have decided on the details, and the artist agrees to doing your commission, the payment details need to be settled. Some artists would like a deposit before they start work. They're still going to expend time and skill to set up the scene, and they deserve to be paid for that beginning step as well. Other artists will ask for full payment up front. They may do this because you're a new client, that's just how they work, or they've been burned in the past and they don't want to be cheated again. Some artists take payment in full, and if the client needs to back out, they'll refund based on how much work was completed. And other artists will take payment after all work is completed. And some may do payment plans even.
Paying for the entire piece up front, but if an artist prefers to work differently, go with what they ask. Expect and don't be shocked by higher commission costs than you anticipated. You're not only paying for the art, but also additional funds to help maintain and replace the tools and media used to create the art. It's in poor form to complain about pricing, or for a client to request that an artist use cheaper media to make their commission more affordable. So I'm going to show now a sample commission document. So I'm just going to pause this just for a moment. And I've recently been taking some commissions, mainly of car art. So I'm going to show you an example of the kind of commission information or contact that I share with my clients when they inquire about buying a portrait. It answers the most common questions and also lets them know their responsibilities as a client, such as providing good reference photos and how to submit them, what they can and can't do with the art, what they can expect of me as an artist, such as work in progress images, normal timescale for completion, and so on. You'll probably notice a few points that we raised in this presentation covered in the contract as well, to provide peace of mind to both parties before work begins, to avoid potential problems later down the line. So I'm just going to scroll through this before we carry on here, just so you can have a look on some of the things that I will be asked. This is relevant to car portraits mainly, but also clarifies things like if they want to get it tattooed on them, if they want to use it for commercial use, if they want to get it printed on t-shirts and whatnot, what I will do, like showing work in progress, how will they receive the finished file, how to upload images, recommendations for printing and such like. So if you want to carry on there, Firecracker.
Okay. After your payment details have been agreed upon, the artist will start to work on your piece. Many artists will send you updates which show you your commission step by step, but not all of them do. So you'll want to make sure you understand your artist's commission process.
I've made this mistake where I didn't ask to see a concept sketch, and I didn't want to bother the busy artist by asking to see a work in progress. Unfortunately, when they submitted the final piece, they'd missed an important part of the description, and the beautiful illustration couldn't be used in the FIC without a pretty major rewrite involving several chapters, which would also have caused difficulties setting up a later scene, which another artist had already begun work on. We were able to sort the issue out. They redrew the scene, and I insisted on still paying for the new piece because I could use the original one in a future FIC instead. So I just bought 2 commissions instead of 1. It did mean the poor artist then had to do more work, which could have been avoided if I had just asked to see a sketch early on when I could have corrected the issue.
Be sure to check each proof you get for any details that aren't quite what you wanted at as early a stage as you can. Take care not to hassle the artist for updates. They'll usually send them to you themselves, but you do want to hassle them if your deadline's approaching or if it's been a few weeks and you haven't heard anything. Reasonable communication is super important in any situation, but you also don't want to be rude or annoying. You want to treat getting a commission as a business agreement, which it is, and understand that getting a commission does not make you a friend of the artist. They owe you nothing more than creating the piece you paid for. I myself have had to cancel on a few commissioners for these reasons. Some people would email me 2 to 3 times a day asking about the status of their artwork, or they would bog me down with personal questions when I hadn't even reached their place in my queue, which I'd like to keep posted publicly so you can check and see where you are in the list.
So eventually you will receive final proof to approve and eventually the final piece for you to enjoy.
You may not think much about this when you land an agreement with the artist, but it's very important that you understand how you are allowed to use the art you commissioned. In most situations, a fan art or original art commission is enjoyed privately. You might use it as your desktop wallpaper, or print it out for your room. Beyond this, it's best to know your limits in regards to how you use the art that you've commissioned. If you plan to use your commission for non-monetary gain in public spaces, both off and online, it's in good practice to ask the artist if you may do this, and also to credit the artist whenever possible. If the artist says you may only share it with visible credit and there's no way to credit them in your use of the art, then do not do so. You just, be respectful.
If you plan to use your commission for monetary gain in public spaces, both off and online, you definitely need to inform the artist of your intentions before any work is done. Artwork created for the use of monetary gain can get muddy for both of you and or the artist, especially if one or both of you aren't familiar with how the art will be used and the business laws behind it.
I myself don't have a lot of experience in this area when I do illustrations for work because my higher ups handle all the details, but many times you'll need to draft a contract detailing things like how and where the artwork will be used, like Gay Demonic Disaster showed earlier, who can use it, and if the artist will get a one-time only payment or be paid for each use. You'll want to seek the help of someone like an attorney if you need help, because anyone can draft a contract, but it's not an easy thing to do and end up getting your fair share in the end.
It's also important to ask how the artist will use the artwork that you commissioned from them. Your piece might be yours to use, but it may also end up being a piece in their off or online portfolio to help market their skills to others, or be seen by someone you may be uncomfortable showing the piece to. It's fair that they get to use your piece too as they made it, but unless you've made an agreement for it not to be shared, you can't control where it will end up. If it's important that your commission be private, usually there are additional fees or other details that need to be discussed before the artist starts working if they're okay with your request.
Next, Gay Demonic Disaster is going to show you how she commissions not one, but multiple artists at a time for illustrations in her fan fiction.
So this approach can work well if you want a couple of illustrations, either from the same artist or from different artists too. The following is only like my preferred way of going about the process. It's by no means the only way, but you may find it's helpful as a starting point because a few people have asked me about this, which is partly why I'm doing this presentation, to be honest. So you want to go through your own fic. If it's multi-chapter, pick out a few scenes that you think you'd like to see illustrated. Ideally pick some safe for work and not safe for work scenes if your fic has got both of them. Copy and paste those into a separate document labeled by chapter and prompt number. For example, chapter 1, page prompt 1, chapter 1, prompt 2. You could also highlight them in your FIC and add a note at the side that they're a prompt for illustration, and this is something that Google Docs is excellent for these collaborations. So next you can ask your artist to select which of the prompts they like the sound of better. If you've got a few prompts and a few artists, you can offer up the safer work prompts to the safer work artist first, asking them to choose which they like best. Then you can ask the other artists to choose the prompts that they like. Once a prompt's been claimed, make a note of it and mark it so that another artist doesn't try to choose the same one and get disappointed. You don't have to get all of the prompts filled. Those that are left unclaimed you can let drop. You're just ensuring that artists have choice to draw what suits them best. It's a good idea to have a separate illustration organization document. In here you'll want your posting schedule if you have one, so that if it's a multi-chapter FIC you can have the upload date for each chapter. That way the artists who are happy working quicker can choose earlier prompts, and those who need more time can choose later prompts. That way you can post as the artist's done rather than waiting for all of them to be finished before you start to upload the FIC. You'll want to keep a record of who is doing what, which prompt they're doing, when and how you paid them, what their deadline is, form of communication they prefer, such as email, Discord, Facebook, or Twitter Messenger, etc. If an artist doesn't want the balance immediately, keep a note of the date when you need to pay them as well, and ensure the money is in your account ready to go on that date. Decide on a format you'd like the final pieces submitted in. Personally, I like JPG because it works best with hosting and sharing to AO3. If you're not sure about how to link an image in AO3, there are how-to articles to help, which you can Google, or an artist can let you know sometimes as well if you ask. You might want to make a Google Drive folder that's open to the artists so they can upload their final pieces there or accept them by email. Do not use Facebook Messenger because Facebook drops the quality of any image sent through. Discord, however, does retain the full image resolution, so that's a good option for immediate file transfer. Now I'm just going to pause the slideshow here to show you an example of an organization document layout. So here we've got an example of the kind of document that I've used in the past to organize multi-chapter FICs, where I have several artists contributing. I've kept this example to only 3 fictional chapters. You can see I've labeled 3 chapters here with the title and summary as a reminder for myself to keep track. This is not where the FIC itself is written, that's a separate document. For each chapter, I've noted the artist illustrating it, or if you've got more than one artist illustrating that chapter, you'd list them both. Social media links will be going in the notes of that chapter, and the URL, the file location of the finished illustration. Next, I've got the posting schedule. So here artists can see what date the chapter they're illustrating will be posted. I've got chapter number, posting date, descriptive title of the scene that's being illustrated, artist name, and the status of their piece, color coded so it's easy to see at a glance how things are progressing. So when I had lots of chapters, it made it a lot easier when you got sort of 22 chapters to color code and you can see at a glance. So we've got green for complete there, amber for work in progress, that I've seen a work in progress stage of and I know it's progressing. Then red for a piece which hasn't yet been started or I haven't yet seen a whip stage. As things update, the color coding will change. Next will be a link to a Google Drive folder that I've made open access for the artists to upload their whips and their final images to. They can find the link in the document themselves, or I can copy paste it easily if needed to send to them. They can just drag and drop a file and it won't lose resolution. It's faster and easier than email. So next is the organization area. Here I may have the overall notes on descriptions for the FIC that might be important for all artists and scenes. For example, short hair Crowley, modern day. Then I organize a status of each illustration, but also the payment status of each artist so I can keep track of who's been paid or what date they require payment. So we have artist A, image complete, chapter, scene title, and artist paid are all in green. Then artist B has got work in progress and I've paid a deposit, but they don't want the balance until completion. Artist C may not want paying until the first draft is complete. So for both the amber balance due and the red not paid yet, I need to be sure I have the funds available ready to go when the artist needs them. So under here is my main area for keeping track of artist social media links for credits in the notes area, which we'll talk about a bit more in a moment. Linktree and card links are very useful if an artist has them, as it condenses all of their social media links into a single menu and takes up less space in your notes area. Make sure you do not link Ko-fi or Patreon, etc. on AO3, as this is against their terms of service. Social media links are fine. Finally, I'll have a notes area for any other details we need to keep track of. It's fine if artists would like to add any notes of their own here as well. So I'm just going to hand back to Firecracker here.
I know we've been talking a lot about commissioning artists, but there are tons of things that cost little to nothing that you can do to support your favorite fan artists as well. You can like their posts. This is the simplest means of showing your support, and it's as easy as clicking the little heart. You can comment on their posts. Most artists love to read your reactions to their work, even if they can't or don't reply to you. It's a real confidence booster. You can also share their images and accounts. This is also called reblogging or retweeting on Twitter. This is not to be confused with reposting, which we'll talk about shortly. Shares are even better than likes because you help spread the artist's work to the people who follow your account, and they get to see it as well. And you kind of hope that that spreads like wildfire. You can also recommend your friends and followers to follow them. You can donate to their Ko-fi if they have one. You can join their Patreon if they have one. If they have a store, you can buy their goods and merchandise.
Now, when we say sharing, this doesn't mean saving the image yourself and then reposting it. It means sharing the original post so that it links back to the original artist and their account gets the traffic, and it guides new fans to their account to appreciate more. When a person reposts, it can be seen as content theft and copyright violation, especially if they don't bother to give credit. If you see someone sharing an artist's work without a link or credit, you can ask the poster to credit the artist if you feel comfortable doing so. If either they refuse, you aren't comfortable contacting or can't contact them, or they seem to be a mass reposting account that's routinely stealing art from many artists, then consider taking a screenshot, sending a link to the original artist to let them know so that they can deal with a copyright takedown notice or whatever course of action they prefer in such cases. You may think you can take care of the situation without contacting the artist, but many times the website will not remove the offending post unless contacted by the creator.
If you run a fan-based forum like a Discord chat or a message board or other similar group, it's a cool thing to reinforce the rule of no art sharing without a link to the original artist. And if a group you're in does not have that rule already, you might want to raise it with an admin to ask for their help in supporting artists. And those are some of the free ways you can support artists. But what if you'd like to give them money but don't have a lot to spend?
Well, a great way to chip in even a little bit is to see if the artist has got a Ko-fi or ask them if they do. You can donate as little as £1 or $1, either as a one-off or as and when you can afford it. £1 may not sound like much to you, but if 10 people are doing the same, then it can add up to something more significant for an artist in need.
Another way to help an artist is to join their Patreon. Patreon is a subscription service that artists use to share their content exclusively to their paying supporters, who pay a fee each month or per work to enjoy it. Most Patreon creators have tiers starting at just $1, £1. Other tiers can go higher in price, but you get access to more exclusive content and perks, which may include offerings like a birthday gift illustration, a chance to suggest a future artwork subject matter, sometimes physical prints or goods sent to you in the mail, a shop discount, and all kinds of other things. If you find you're in a position where you need to cancel your Patreon pledge, try to do it immediately after a bill date, not right before one. Otherwise, it can feel a little bit like a scam to get a month's worth of free art, and it's actually really rude for you to do that to an artist you love. Also, many artists maintain an online shop and or sell merchandise at public gatherings like and conventions, like stickers, postcards, prints, exclusive books of art. So you can treat yourself, buy some for your friends, or you can add an online a shop item to your gift wish list, and someone who can will be able to buy it for you. Some artists will even accept a commission from you during a convention, and Personally, that's my favorite.
You can also surprise an artist with a tip. If you feel they don't charge enough for the work, had a pleasant experience working with them, or just want to do something nice, a tip is a great way to surprise an artist. Sometimes artists may be inspired by your work completely independently and spontaneously send you something, which is always lovely. But if they start to make a habit of it, I prefer to insist that they accept payment, as otherwise it feels unfair on them and on other artists. Even if they don't want money, sometimes you can barter, because I've gifted artists things like handmade jewellery before in return for art they've given me, or donated to a charity they support, or you might write them a special gift fic, but make sure you support them however you can.
Now we want to go on to a section that I like to call Buyer Beware. Before we get to our Q&A, we wanted to discuss some red flags to watch out for when purchasing commissions. When commissioning an artist you don't know, look for a website or social media account with their work on it, first of all. Preferably just their work if they don't update the account with art regularly. You want to get a look at what you're getting and what they like to draw, because you may not be happy with your piece if it's something they don't draw a lot or know much about.
Look for an artist's terms of service or a post that explains how their commissions work and what work they will or won't do. If they don't have one, you can ask them before you get a quote, and ask them how their commission process works. Ask as many questions as you feel that you need in as few messages as possible. You don't want to pester them too much, but at the same time, you want to feel confident in commissioning them.
Another thing that you might be able to do is contact other people who've commissioned the artist, if possible, and ask how the process went for them. Like maybe ask what type of commission they got, how long it took them, how much they communicated about the piece, and like the frequency of communication. And by doing that, you can learn a lot about the artist this way.
Also take into consideration that all artists are different from one another. Some of them take a very long time to do a commission that another artist might do in a day or two. There are artists who dedicate themselves entirely to commissions, but there are also artists who work other jobs alongside drawing, or they've got family members to care for. Artists who may be struggling with their mental or physical health, artists who have very short windows of free time to work in, among other valid reasons.
But you also want to be wary of people who may end up taking your money and leaving you with nothing. Not all of them do this intentionally, but it can end up happening in the end. So you want to be wary of commissioning artists in the following situations. First off, young artists, they may not know how actual commissions work. They can be unreliable. They may have an insecure means of taking payments since they may not be old enough to have a digital bank account. They could be catfishing as a more experienced artist, etc. And building off that point, be wary of a person posting artwork that you don't trust them as having the skills to produce. You can run their examples through a reverse Google image search, ask someone who knows them if possible, and look for watermarks or evidence of cropping and removed watermarks. Because some people will take your money and run after enticing you with a beautiful fake portfolio. Another thing you want to watch out for are artists in need. A lot of times artists will get very desperate and offer very cheap commissions in bulk to help fund a very expensive need, like a rent payment, medicine for a pet, gas or petrol, etc. And a lot of people will feel sympathy, but also fall for the really low prices and commission these people. And while the artist's intention may be good, and in most cases it is, it's not likely you'll see your commission in these situations. Even with good intentions, an artist taking bulk commissions for ridiculous prices often gives them burnout before they're finished. So like, unless it's your friend, the prices are reasonable for achieving the goal. Like a good example would be an artist taking $10 to $20 drawings for a $100 parking ticket, but it would be bad if they were taking $10 to $20 drawings for a $2,000 rent payment. Or if you don't mind if you don't get something in the end, you just want to support them. If not, don't give them any money in these situations.
So before we did this presentation, we did ask if anyone had any questions for us as we're pre-recording this one. So we did get quite a few, although most of them we have already actually answered, so I'm not going to include the ones that we did answer in this presentation. So if I take the first one here, and you can maybe take the next one. So the first question we had is, how do artists work out their pricing? So Generally, an artist should look for at least the minimum wage in their area per hour and work out how many actual hours they spend working on the illustration. This includes research and time taken reading through the notes you've been sent, not just drawing time. Some programs like Procreate have got a helpful feature that helps you work out how much time you spent actively working on a piece, which can help this out. For example, the car portraits I've been doing have taken between 3.5 to 6.5 hours each from start to finish, and that's drawing time only. So £10 an hour is a reasonable low hourly wage in the UK. £45, £65 should be the ballpark. Not all artists work like this, however, so some fine artists with many years' experience and long waiting lists for commissions are completely justified in charging more. An artist I once commissioned an A4 oil painting from in the early 90s for £35 now charges over £1,000 for the same. New artists may undercharge, but this can harm other artists by creating unrealistically low expectation of fees by clients, and they'll then undervalue the time of other established artists and demand they charge less. So artists, please do not undervalue your work. Price it appropriately for the style and market by checking other comparable artist rates and drawing an average, then fine-tuning it to what's comfortable to you without dragging that average down so far as to harm the market and hence the income of other artists. Do you want to take the next one?
Sure. We were asked, why should the focus be on supporting artists and not all fandom creators? Do fanfic writers not deserve support as well? This is a fantastic subject that it'd be great to see a panel on in the future. Unfortunately, we only get so much time to present our panels, so we chose a single subject and split it into two viewpoints, from the client's position and from the artist position. Being in the community of fandom artists and having many artist friends, we've seen the difficulties they go through, from difficult clients to art theft. We've also had several people ask us outright for tips, like how to commission art, how to work with the artist so you get the best out of your experience, hence the choice for this panel. We think it'd be great for someone to do a corresponding how to support writers panel at some point, where you could outline ways to help writers achieve their goals and gain support. Maybe perhaps have a published author come team up with a fic author and explain how they made the jump into publication. Zine organizers could contribute on how to publicize and monetize zines for profit or charity. And a fic writer could speak about how to get your fics noticed, how to deal with comments, both positive and negative, and other considerations.
One of the other questions we got was, what do you say to anxious people who overthink how best to support artists, who think they're too much, or who try to figure out the best way to show their love and support? So we'll say the best way is engagement first before jumping in with over-familiar DMs. Like and comment on their social media posts, share the links where encouraged to do so, and don't share if asked not to. If you feel able to join their Patreon, do so. Also remember that the artist isn't your friend. Treat them politely as you would any person you're unfamiliar with, and read the room. In a sense, when you reach out, there's always a chance you might become friends over time, but it's important to be mindful and not take actions in the wrong light. They may even be overthinking on how to respond to you too.
And that's it for us. Thanks for watching our panel, and feel free to contact us offline if you have any more questions. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for joining us. Bye.